Hey guys, so in this video I want to go over my crossbow setup for 0.2. This build is going to be mainly focused on Monk, but we'll go over some setups you can do for Amazon or Witchhunter, and I'll probably be updating my guides for Witchhunter, and I'll add some POBs for Amazon later on this weekend. But this build right now is extremely good single target. You can see in the intro we're just basically deleting bosses, and even on a 5-link right now, and still deleting these guys. And the clear is actually pretty good. You can do galvanic shards like standard full crossbow setup and have pretty good clear with galvanic and Herald of Thunder, or you can do what I'm doing now, and I've swapped over to lightning spear, embrace the dark side. And because the clear is just insane on lightning spear, even on just a 4-link and a spear that costs like under 10 exalts, still melting T16, T15 maps. Pretty insane setup. And I'm pretty surprised they haven't even nerfed this, and it's kind of a little bit sad because I did want to do full Xbow, but the lightning spear clear is just way too good to not use. Okay, so aside from that, the build doesn't have any annoying kind of setup combos or anything. The only setup we have is dropping down to Orbis Storms, and that's kind of optional anyway, just to get critical weakness. But aside from that, it's just, you know, one button or 2 button, you know, what have you, for your shock burst single target, and then your clearing skill. As for defenses, we're running evasion, energy shield, and can get quite a bit of energy shield. Right now I'm only at like 2k, but eventually we'll probably get quite a lot, and I'm thinking it will be easier to get like maybe 4k, 5k ES, and then we can go CI and then have a really good time there. Alright, so let's run a map, and we're going to do this one. It's got quite a few damage mods on it, but it should be okay, I think. Alright, so right now I'm running the lightning spear setup, and it's still a 4-link, so that means we have like 1 damage link in here, and the rest is just kind of like utility. I guess Volt is a damage link, but it's kind of a sad story because, well, actually, in the beginning of before the league launched, I did want to do a lightning spear crossbow hybrid, but I never really got around to doing it. And then I guess now we are, but and then at some point I wanted to do like a pure crossbow setup, right, with just like galvanic shards, shock burst rounds. But you can see that the clear on this lightning spear compared to shock burst rounds is just kind of crazy, right? Even a 6-link shock burst rounds can't get this level of clear, which is a little bit sad. I guess without the herald chaining, it's just really not that good. I mean, it's okay, it's definitely doable. You can still run shock burst rounds, and I have been running it for quite a while. Anyways, yeah, so the coverage is just a lot better on the, how do you say it, lightning spear. So I'm trying it out now. I just swapped to it last night, and so it might not be like super optimized, but anyways, there's a couple of things you could probably do if you want and change a lot of things. I mean, obviously getting a 5 or 6 link would be nice, but anyways, so for the frenzies, right now, all I'm doing is combat frenzy pretty much. So you can do some things to try to get more sustain on your frenzies if you want, but I mean, I think this is actually totally fine. Since we're not using lightning spear for single target, it doesn't really matter that much if we just sometimes don't have frenzies, I think. Anyways, grab all the shrines. And yeah, so for mobility, I'm doing Blink right now. But you could run, what's the other one? The Roa mount if you want that. Wow, nice checkpoints. Alright, let's go find the boss. Yeah, you can run the Roa mount if you want. You can do some other thing if you want. But I like Blink because it allows me to like dodge for like dangerous abilities and that kind of stuff. Alright, so finally at the boss. Took a while to find this guy, but basically quickly go over the single target. We're doing the auto shock setup that I made in 0.1 with the Choir of the Storm, using this to apply shocks to the monsters, and right now it is pretty consistent, I would say. There is some cases where it isn't proccing, but anyways, I think with more damage it should like be a little bit smoother, but for now it pretty much always not really having a problem generating the shocks. There is another setup you can run with the Compainion with the always shocks mod. That'll do the same thing, and you can run that. I was running that for a while. It's actually pretty fun. with that setup. And another thing is we're using the effigy of cruelty, so we can get critical weakness. And so you can put down these like Orbit Storms before the fight starts, and then you'll get your crit weakness. Anyways, let's go and try to kill the boss. Okay, so we put down our little spear things. And as soon as he comes in, you can just go and blast him. Alright, pretty easy. And guys, keep in mind, this is like a 5-link shock burst because I'm pretty sure Fresh Clip is bugged. You can see when we shoot and reload, we are not getting any kind of damage increase. Right? The number should be like, you know, going up slowly. But anyways, so pretty much like 5-link shock burst rounds, pretty insane damage. Alright, so let's go over the build, and right now it's a little bit weird on Mobalitics, like the items and gems and stuff for some reason kind of just disappeared, but I do have all the POBs, so we'll go over the POBs mainly, and pretty much all the gear we're going to be using, it's going to be the same like stat-wise and that kind of stuff. So whether you're playing on Witchhunter, Amazon, or, you know, Monk, all the gear we're going to be using is exactly the same. Only thing that's going to change is like the passive trees and that kind of stuff. Okay, so first of all, let's go over a couple of skill interactions in the build. First of all, let's talk about how we're getting our automatic shocks for shock burst rounds. And so the first way is going to be with the Choir of the Storm amulet. This one is a little bit tricky to set up because now that it's like the lightning bolt instead of the greater lightning bolt, it's doing a lot less damage, so therefore harder to shock. Basically right now you can see my tooltip is actually pretty sad, only 3,700, but this is still generating shocks you can see on the bosses, especially when you do have your Unbound avatar up. It's pretty much guaranteed shocks. I also did try using stuff like Overwhelming Presence, and right now I just don't have enough gem slots for it, but I might move some things around to put this in, and this will definitely help you quite a bit in you know, getting your shocks out. But basically what happens is you crit, lightning bolt hits the target, this then shocks the target, and then your shock burst rounds can do its full damage because shock burst rounds, how would you say, the damage mainly is coming from these pulses. You could see about 160,000, or is it yeah, 160,000 DPS on the pulses compared to only the 27,000 on the actual bolts. And this number actually goes up quite a bit higher if Fresh Clip is working, but like, you know, mentioned, it is actually a little bit bugged at the moment. But yeah, even though it's bugged, it's still doing insane amount of damage. It's kind of crazy. Okay, so another way we can get our shocks is with one of these companions over here. There's this companion that has the modifier all damage shocks, right? And so what this does is basically any hit the monster does is going to apply a shock. So you can use this setup too. We'll go over that setup as well. But basically, yeah, this is a very easy way to do it, although it does take another gem slot. That's one thing to keep in mind. The only problem is sometimes he dies, but you can make it so that he only has a 1-second respawn timer, so it's actually not that bad. Anyways, so whichever method you prefer to use, I prefer the Choir because I can control when I shock the target, whereas sometimes your companion will kind of run off and decide not to attack, and you're kind of stuck there waiting for him to do his shock or his attack, but he doesn't really do it. So I prefer the Choir setup, and I think this will scale a lot better in endgame, where, I don't know, maybe you can get some pretty juiced up companion with like haste aura and all this kind of other cool stuff, and then use an amulet with like plus proj levels, or I don't know. So we'll see at endgame which one is better, but at the moment, I'm currently liking the Choir of the Storm setup. Okay, so another thing, critical weakness, how do we get this running? So the only thing you need to know is that we need to have our Orbit Storms set up to basically only be used with the weapon that has the effigy of cruelty, right? So you can see I have mine checked to only use weapon set 2, and if we put these here, when we swap back to our crossbow, these are still going to be applying the critical weakness, even though we've swapped over to this weapon set 1. Alright, because these were created with weapon set 2. Alright. Okay, so, and that's pretty much all the mechanics you need to know. As for like the lightning spear stuff, I think pretty much everyone knows this lightning spear stuff, so I don't really want to get too much into it, but The way we're getting our frenzy charges, because frenzy charges, when you consume a frenzy charge, it does a lot more damage and that kind of stuff. We're just doing combat frenzy with profusion linked to it here, and then we're generating the frenzies here with our Herald Thunder using the electrocute and neural overload. So that's pretty much all you need to know. You can do, like, say, you could do a cast on crit or cast on shock with the sniper's mark to get these as well, get a little bit more, but I think for me right now this setup is working just fine. Okay, so let's go over the rest of the skills then. So for Unbound Avatar, we're going to be using, so this skill is a monk specific skill, so you won't have this if you're playing on Witchhunter or the Amazon, but basically we use all the mastery skills to give it some more levels, because that's going to increase the duration. For shock burst rounds, we're going to be having fresh clip, primal armament, elemental focus, concentrate effect, and martial tempo. The links for the pure crossbow, like the galvanic shards, shock burst rounds, is a little bit different. I think the shock burst rounds setup stays the same in all setups. But anyways, and then for lightning spear, right now I'm just using volt, perpetual charge, and lightning infusion, and probably add in some other stuff like long shot, and I'm not really sure what else we'll do for the 6 link. But I think lightning spear is already figured out pretty much, so you don't really need advice from me on this kind of lightning spear stuff. Okay, so, and then we have emergency reload, a buff for our crossbow, so we instantly can reload our crossbow, and then the bolts we reload are going to be getting quite a bit of damage, about 45% more damage, as well as getting culling strike, if, we do manage to attack the target during that time. Okay, so that's that. And then for Orb of Storms, I have Overabundance, we can have 2 of them. Then we have Pinpoint Critical, because we're only going to get our critical weakness when we crit with this thing, so we want it to crit as much as possible. So you can see right now it's at about 53% crit chance, and it's pretty much instant to get to the max stacks at the moment. And then we just have Persistence, so they last a bit longer. Right now they're 7-second duration. Okay, so let's go over the Aura setup. And right now the setup that I'm liking quite a bit for the Lightning Spear version is, so first of all, for the crossbow set, we have our cast on shock, and then we have voltaic mark, and then inspiration. This is just basically to increase our shock magnitude. That's pretty much it. Give it a little bit more damage. And then we have Herald of Thunder active on the crossbow set. I guess this is I'm only using this because on the passive tree we have the Coming Calamity, right? So this is like 70% more damage, right? Wait, is it? Yeah, like 74% more damage. So that's the only reason why it's on the crossbow set. And then we have Blink, and Blink using Ingenuity, Second Wind, and Arcane Tempo. Alright, and then for weapon set 2, which is going to be your clearing skill for the Lightning Spear setup at least, we're going to be running the Combat Frenzy with Profusion, and then obviously Herald of Thunder as well with the Electrocute and Neural Overload combo. And then Wind Dancer with Precision, and you don't really need this here. I just put this in here because I have some extra slots. And then we're going to be running Blink. Okay, so as for the gear, for your crossbow, you want one with high critical hit chance. So like 3.5, 4% plus base crit. So I think around 8%, 9% crit is what you want to have, because it is pretty hard to get crit now. And, having base crit is going to be pretty big for getting your critical hit chance up. And then I guess obviously a lot of damage. You could be either Fizz or Lightning. Increased elemental damage with attacks is nice as well, but I would first prioritize the crit and then the flat physical damage, or flat damage. And then attack speed and crit multi or level of prod skills is pretty good for suffixes as well. As for the gear, we're going to be using evasion, energy shield, body armor, and then pure energy shield, boots, gloves, helmet. You can use hybrid gloves, hybrid boots, but you want the helmet to be pure energy shield, because we're going to be using the subterfuge mask over here. So basically we get evasion from our energy shield on our helmet. So this helmet has, like, let's just say we have a helmet with 500 energy shield, we're going to be getting 1000 evasion, right? Okay, and same thing for the body armor. this combo is pretty nice for getting a lot of evasion and energy shield at the same time. Also with the spectral ward giving us more energy shield per evasion. Alright, so you could go with technically with a pure evasion chest, but it's not going to be as much energy shield. But anyways, basically the only stats we're going to be getting here, let's go over the helmet first. Rarity, if you want to get rarity, then get your rarity here. And then crit chance, you do need some intelligence for the Choir of the Storm setup. Actually about like 195 for a level 19 Storm Bolt. So yeah, get some int. You can get it on the helmet, the gloves, the boots, the body armor. You can get it on rings. So wherever you get it, get some intelligence. Keep in mind you can also get like dex, or you can't really get dex on these bases anyways. But yeah, so you get your stats and then some resistances. That's pretty much all the suffixes are just going to be resistances and stats. Except for the gloves. The gloves, we want to get attack speed on the gloves, and you can get rarity, or you can get crit multi, and then flat damage on the prefix. Okay, so for the boots, it's going to be kind of the same thing, just movement speed, rarity, intelligence, and then some resistances. For the body armor, exact same thing here as well. The rings, we want to get flat lightning damage. Flat fizz is okay. Increased lightning damage also is pretty good. And then we want to get resistances, rarity, attributes. That's pretty much it. Alright, so pretty simple stuff. For the belt, right now I'm just using it to get strength, because we do need some strength in the build for, you know, the crossbow, and then also for if you're going to use overwhelming presence and that kind of stuff, you do need a little bit of strength. So we get some strength on the belt, and then we want to get some resistances and also flask life recovery rate, because this is going to increase the amount of energy shield we get from the Eternal Youth Keystone. And as for the flask itself, we want to have one with increased amount recovered. We don't really need the instant recovery. I guess you know, if we use the utility belt, we get 20% of that instantly, so that's kind of nice. And then mana flask, I rarely use this, so you just use whatever you want. For the charm, I'm using a stun charm, and then you probably want a freeze charm, and then the onslaught charm if you have 3. Alright, so for the Choir of the Storm, make sure you do get a level 19 bolt, because that's going to increase the damage. And then for the annoyance, so there's a couple of good ones. Right now, I'm doing Storm Charge, like 13% more damage. You can also do Vulgar Methods. That one gives you a little bit of strength. And then, or if you want to save points, right, you can do Subterfuge Mask, and you can use all of these points somewhere else. Okay, so that is the gear. Let's go over the jewels real quick. So for the jewels, you can either go for evasion jewels, right, and then, or you can go for energy shield jewels. You do need at least one energy shield jewel, because that's going to have the recover 2% of life on kill. So you want that combo energy shield and 2% life on kill, or, you know, crit chance, crit multi. And basically the damage stats we want is going to be crit multi and crit chance. That's the only 2 damage stats we really care about, and then after that a defensive mod like evasion or something else. Alright, so my jewels are actually really bad. This one doesn't even have any evasion on it, but you know, it's got some decent damage. Okay, so as for the passive tree, basically for the monk, we just get some nice stuff in the beginning, and then we're gonna go get all the crit stuff, right? We get all the crit, we get this maximum lightning damage, get more crit, some increased damage, attack speed, accuracy, attack speed, and then I right now need these attributes because the attribute requirements for this build are pretty insane. We're going to need like 200 int, 200 dex, and about 120 strength, right? And that's, you know, pretty hard until we actually get a lot of good gear, but until then I'm actually just running this attribute cluster, and since we do have a lot of strength, the Jack of all trades does actually give quite a decent amount of damage. So eventually I would actually like to get rid of all of this stuff here and then put these points somewhere else, like get more energy shield up here, and that kind of stuff. But until then, until we get some, you know, attributes sorted out, that's what we're going to be doing. And as for like endgame, I'm not sure if we do like Hand of Wisdom in action again, or you know, do some other kind of damage scaling. But anyways, that's the kind of state of the passive tree. And if you were like a Deadeye, or you're playing on the Amazon, you can just kind of start out here and come up this way, right? And exactly the same tree. You probably just won't get any of this this stuff over here, right? Okay, so and I'll probably have some POBs for those later on in the description or in the Mobalitics page. But let's go over the different variants. So we just looked at the Lightning Spear version. Alright, so this is the current version I'm playing, the Lightning Spear version. You can see we're at about 2 million full DPS on shock burst rounds, which is pretty insane, considering that we're just in basic gear, right? Just like 5 to 7 div worth of gear. And yeah, so pretty insane stats. You know, elemental max hit still pretty good as well. So alright, so this is going to be the pure crossbow setup, where we don't use Lightning Spear, and it's exactly the same, except instead of the Lightning Spear we have Galvanic Shards, and then instead of the Combat Frenzy we're going to be using Overwhelming Presence. Okay, and then for Galvanic Shards, I'm actually really liking this new combo for clear, and that's using Pierce and Gamble Shot. And Gamble Shot basically gives you a random chance to pierce, fork, or chain. And then on top of that, we have guaranteed pierce. And so why no fork? And I noticed that in really dense maps, fork clear was actually pretty bad compared to pierce. So now we can get fork or chain or, you know, on Gamble Shot and then have a guaranteed pierce. And this setup feels pretty good. And then we're going to have mobility and lightning infusion. And the only other change is that, yeah, we just use Overwhelming Presence, and there is some aura changes, but that's all in the Mobalitics page. So you can go check that out. Okay, and then after that we have a lower level version, the one that I was playing before. This one is using the Compainion setup. This one is like the League Start version, because you don't need any uniques or anything. All you have to do is just get the gems, and that's, you know, pretty much it. Find the Compainion and you're good to go. And yeah, you can go check out these on the Mobalitics page or in the POBs, but these ones are also pretty good. It's like 1.5 mil DPS on a 5 link. So very insane DPS. And on the Compainion, we're going to just have lasting shock, lightning exposure, and overcharge, so we get some nice shocks from this guy. Right, and in all the POBs, there is a drop down here on the loadouts. You can see over here, and there is, first of all, the League Start version. This is the version I played right when I hit maps before I swapped to crit. So you can go check out this setup over here. This was enough to get me into, you know, start mapping and getting levels so I could swap over to the crit versions over here. And then there is like leveling trees. This is like how I leveled pretty much, right? You can go check this out and see if you're actually leveling with crossbow, how I actually leveled my character. Alright guys, but that's going to be it for the video. Let me know what you think, and I'll over the weekend I'll probably try to update the Witchhunter and make some POBs for Amazon and maybe Deadeye as well, so we can have some, you know, see what the stats look like on those classes, and then be working on what, you know, the end game version, you know, what direction we want to go in the end game over the weekend. So it's gonna be kind of fun, I think. Anyways, yeah, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you next time.